So great to have your company once again on NBL Now. It is our Thursday morning edition. Round 3 starts tonight, and it is a very, very interesting game. We've got that on the agenda and a whole lot more. I'm Jack Heverin, Derek Rucker alongside me. Ruck, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jack. And I'm from a different location. I took my birthday celebrations down to Byron Bay. So we're doing this NBL Now, the first ever one from Byron Bay, Jack. I can guarantee you that.
We have a show and we will travel anywhere. Happy birthday to you, by the way, too. There was a very cool clip that went up on the NBL social media platforms yesterday. Can you grow that flat top back for retro round?
That is impossible. Unless some science or some technology hits me in the next couple of months, no chance.
Hey, let's jump straight into tonight. Really, really interesting and I think a really, really important game for both the Adelaide 36ers and the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Let's start with the Phoenix. Mike Kelly spoke to News Corp yesterday and as part of his press conference. And despite some of the suggestions, which I thought were great from the boys on NBL Overtime, about Nathan Sobey coming off the bench, Mike Kelly says that he will start tonight.
Yeah, and I get it. But there's a critical mass, Jack, in the L's column. How many losses are they willing to take before they make some type of significant change? We haven't seen Derek Walton Jr. and Nathan Sobey play well together yet. Sobey got off the other day. He had 24, but they still lost. Derek Walton Jr. had zero impact in that game, and that's a concern. Mike Kelly has to figure out a way to schematically get these guys to play well at the same time, or it may be between those two guys to come together and figure out a way, how can we help each other get better? Now, Jack, if they lose tonight and get to 0-4, I think not only does pressure go on to Mike Kelly, but then, the imports as well in Hurt and Wieskamp. These guys are putting up decent numbers, but again, numbers that don't lead to victory are hollow.
Wieskamp was the other I wanted to ask you about because there has been so much discussion about Nathan Sobey, and I think unless something changes, we can draw a line through him coming off the bench tonight. What about Joe Wieskamp, though? Matt Hurt, his last performance in New Zealand, he's really started to settle in now. Would you consider changing something up with Wieskamp tonight?
Possibly. I wouldn't mind just going smaller and seeing them get out and try and outscore Adelaide, because what does Wieskamp give you defensively, okay? I'm not sure that he's going to have an impact there all season. But what he does do is score the ball pretty well. And maybe if he came off the bench, he plays against that second set of players. Walton Jr. or Sobey goes to the bench. However that second lineup looks, Wieskamp could be your number 2 offensive option in the second rotation. We've seen other teams go to this, and Pete Hooley touched on it. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Peter, but I don't think he's wrong. But he was talking about the need to change the perception of coming off the bench. And he is right. Pete is right. There's nothing wrong with coming off the bench. But personally, me as an import and someone who's expected to get numbers, I wouldn't like that at all, Jack.
Their opponents, the Adelaide 36ers, are also feeling the pinch right now. They've allowed 101 and 102, Ruck, in their first 2 games. That's too many.
It is, and that's why I said tonight, Jack, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Neither one of these teams have shown any concern for stopping the opponent. So I like Adelaide to win this one, though. I think they are a little bit more of a team right now, and unless Southeast Melbourne really turn their fortunes around and show some type of cohesion and some chemistry, I think they're going to have a really tough time. And keep in mind, Jack, this is Adelaide's home opener. They're going to be amped up, and I think Montrezl Harrell is going to feature prominently tonight.
Massive crowd expected too at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, which is what we've come to know and expect from 36ers fans. Even in the toughest of times, they still turn up like they did at the back end of last season. Kendrick Davis, well, he was engaged in a little bit of a back and forth on Twitter with Olgun Ulich from ESPN earlier in the week, and he's also spoken and defended not only himself, but has defended the Adelaide 36ers as well, and kind of had some theory that because of who Adelaide are, or that perhaps they get treated a little unfairly. What did you think of those comments?
That's all garbage. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't been around here long enough to understand the league and all the unique aspects of it. In his defense, however, I think Adelaide and Coach Mike Wells need to just let Kendrick play. Yep. Leave him out there 33, 34 minutes, and let's find out what he's got. I thought at the end of the Sydney game out in Perth, he started to flow. He started to bounce a little bit. He was making plays. And I thought he showed signs early up in Cairns that he was ready to go as well, that he got yanked out of the game. And look, they've got to understand, like as a group and as a coaching staff, how are we going to prioritize guys in this lineup? And I know right now there's a lot of focus on Isaac Humphries not getting what he needs. But I would like to see a lot of I would play a bit of three guard small ball with Kendrick Davis and DJ Vasiljevic out there at times on the court together and really make it hard on the opposition to defend them on the perimeter.
We were in Sydney last Sunday. We saw the Illawarra Hawks defeat the Sydney Kings at Kudos Bank Arena, and they're getting a lot of credit right now, as they should, the Hawks. Will Hickey spoke to the Illawarra Mercury in the last 24 hours and said that 2 years ago we were 3-25 and the Kings were hitting the sleeping celebrations on us. Since then, we've won 3 in a row, and it's our time now.
Hey, everything Will Hickey said is factual. And when those things happen against you, it angers you, it embarrasses you, it humiliates you. So when you get your chance to move that feeling in the opposite direction, now Illawarra have won 3 straight in Sydney, as you mentioned. Well, Will's an emotional guy, and this is an emotional comment, and we love it because that's who he is. As long as he's not making comments outside of his true, authentic self, you can't blame the guy. And on top of that, Jack, he's hooping. He's been balling for about 10 to 15 games in a row. You can never fault his energy. He's adding more to his game. We saw him hit a couple of key pull-up jump shots in that Sydney game when they looked like they were teetering on having lost their way on the offensive end. And I think all of this, Jack, is a byproduct of Justin Tatum's confidence. He wants his guys to get out there with their chest out. We see how Justin gets down before the game, in game, post game. He is a very confident, full of belief type guy, and that's spread right throughout that franchise.
Tomorrow night, we turn our attention to Cairns and Tasmania, and then also Perth and Melbourne. Keanu Pinder has been a talking point this week. How do you handle that from a player management perspective, Ruck, if you're John Rillie? So one of your stars plays 10 minutes for no apparent reason. We're told that he wasn't sick or wasn't injured, had a few turnovers and just looked like he couldn't get his way into the game. How do you build him back up during the week?
I would just show him some video from games where he's excelled. I think that's what sparks Keanu, and also a little bit of tough love. And I think that's what really got his career going when he received that from Adam Ford up in Cairns. And I think John really is more than capable of working his way through this situation. You can't beat Keanu too much right here now because you need him to perform. He is the most important player on that team. Now, they were able to cover for him with some performances from guys who may or may not be able to replicate that consistently. But you don't want to rely on those guys. You want to go with your superstars. And I think Keanu will bounce back big time. Look, it's a big challenge. This is a great game Friday night. And if he doesn't step up, I still think that Perth front line is a little bit vulnerable. So it's a big one, Jack.
And then Cairns and Tasmania, it's one game, but are you almost willing to say that Tasmania are back after their funk at the start of the season?
Well, Cairns had a great victory at home, right? They look really good. Rob Edwards looks like he's found his place quickly. Looks like he's a quick learner. He's figured out how he can thrive in the league. So they're going to be really tough. And Tasmania, who everybody went a little bit sour on coming out of Hoops Fest, now they get to show us in a tough environment how they travel. Now they're getting people back. They've had another full week of training with all their bodies. And if they're the real Tasmania, like we saw win the championship last year, they'll go up to Cairns and handle them.
It's going to be a fascinating weekend, this one. Can't wait to get stuck into it. And it all starts tonight, ESPN from 7 p.m. with the pre-game show. Pete Hooley, Nerily Meadows, Alice Kunek also involved in Thursday Night Hoops as well. The great John Casey will be courtside at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. and then we wind our way through the weekend. Ruck, we'll see you on Saturday night in Brisbane and Sunday in Melbourne.
Correct. I cannot wait for this weekend's games to start.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us on NBL Now. Don't forget, ESPN is your home of hoops all summer long. Jump on, check it out, and we'll speak to you next time.